we kick things off by looking ahead to the big game, of course, tomorrow in the Premier League. And what a match it should be. Arsenal taking on Aston Villa in the top of the table clash. Here's Mikel Arteta talking about their opponents tomorrow.
Well, they merit to be there. Look what they are doing and how consistent they've been. What Unai has done with the club. So I think they fully deserve that credit because they are doing it on the pitch, where it is where you have to show your level. That's what we want, that every opponent that comes here suffers and that we are as dominant as we were today again for the majority of the game. And against Villa, we have a really tough match. We know their level, what they are doing, but beautiful game as well to prepare and play.
As promised, then, Mario is with us. Mario, big boy time for Arsenal, isn't it? You get a result against Aston Villa. All those doubters are certainly silenced, aren't they, for a bit?
No, definitely, because I think it's what you said. It's a big game for them. Like if you want to be champion, this is the time when you make the difference and silence a lot of people that have doubt in you, and especially because this is the time when normally you get to see Arsenal maybe drops away a little bit, but you're facing a team that has been winning 12 games in a bounce. So it's going to be a really interesting game.
Can't wait for this, Stevie.
Yeah, it should be a great game. For me, it's all about Arsenal, to be honest with you.
Yeah.
Because, I mean, even the game they played, 2-3 weeks ago, I thought Arsenal were the better side. But the thing we've been complaining about them, certainly recently, is not killing games off and not taking advantage of all the situations they've created. And so, again, yes, you could say, well, they might do the same tomorrow. But I think the key for me is they've got Saliba and Gabriel back as the centre-back pairship. The first game, Aston Villa had plenty of chances. I don't think that happens with Gabriel and Saliba there. And so that means that it really is, can Arsenal take advantage of the chances that they will create? And I think they will. I think the fact that Villa came back so well against Chelsea has hidden over the first hour, because the first hour, they were terrible.
Yeah.
They got mauled. And unfortunately, Chelsea couldn't take advantage. So really, to me, it's about Arsenal taking advantage of the possession that they will have, because they'll have more than Villa. That's the key for me.
Looking at it from a Villa perspective, Mario, do they go in not with nothing to lose, but obviously they're not under the same pressure as Arsenal?
No, they definitely don't have the same pressure. But when they went to the bridge, right, I thought Emery had a tactical setup. They didn't maybe start it well, because people will say, like, oh, it didn't start it well. But I felt like he was clever. He put some speed in the team, hoping to play on the counter-attack the first half. They didn't turn up here, like Stevie said. No, they didn't. It didn't work out well for them. But then the second half, when they kind of like gave Chelsea a kind of feeling like we are there. And then they put Watkins in. Oh, when Watkins came in for Buendia, he just kept on asking the ball in the channel. And you see that Chelsea still struggles with that. And that made it dangerous. So coming to Arsenal, when you look at Arsenal, yeah, the two defenders are back, but they're not back to their best rhythm. So it's going to be an interesting task to see them face, Watkins, because this kid is like now in full of confidence. And Rodgers at the moment, that's the joy to watch.
It must be fun from a Villa perspective, playing out what it has over the last couple of months.
Yeah. There is nothing better than having a tough game and then you pull it out right at the end. And that's basically what Villa have been doing. And so when you do that, you leave the field, you are absolutely flying.
Because all other sins are forgiven, yeah? As you're saying, the first hour of the Chelsea game.
Yeah, absolutely. And the only, I guess really, the only person that needs to look at that more than anybody is the manager. Because the players understand that they got pummeled. But they don't care, because they know that they came back, and that's the most important thing inside them, that they feel. So, yeah, Unai Emery has to get it right from the start. He has to get it right from the start. He cannot afford to let Arsenal get the momentum early on in the game and get ahead, because Arsenal are different. When it comes to defending, Arsenal are different. And yes, I agree with Mario that maybe Saliba and Gabriel are not back to what we saw the first few weeks of the season. But I tell you what, just the fact that they're there. Right. If I'm playing in front of them and I look behind and I see the two of them there, that makes me feel really comfortable.
What about the other end?
Well, the other end...
Is there an argument to say you start Jesus?
I don't think so. This is yes, a big game. I think Gyökeres, we heard Arteta talking, 10 days ago about how he didn't start well, but then he came good, but then he got injured. And so Gyökeres is only a couple of games back from being injured.
Right.
And I think 100% he will start up front and it will not be Jesus.
Mario, as a defender, who would you prefer to be up against? Someone like Gyökeres, who you can kind of know where he is and monitor, or someone like a Havertz or Jesus, who don't quite have those same sort of instincts as a centre-forward, but positionally they're different?
Yes, but I think still Gyökeres, when we don't see it, because I'm sure a lot of people will say like, okay, you want to see the goals, but it's still a handful to play against because he doesn't stop running. So you can play against the other ones and they may be, you know, lower sense of gravity like Jesus, trickery, and Havertz more has to have it from his intelligence. But when it comes to a battle, I think Gyökeres is still the main guy to battle with you. And I think at the moment I would play him. Why? Because I think at the speed-wise, the fitness-wise, for this game, I think he has to be ready for that. The only thing what I think the difference with him is sometimes he needs to gamble more. Because if you don't gamble at all as a striker, you don't make it hard for the defenders. If you always wait for the perfect ball, it's not happening. Go for the ugly ones because that is only going to make him score goals that people are waiting for.
Is a draw a disaster?
Ooh.
So if Arsenal,
I don't think a draw is a
tomorrow and
disaster.
City beat Sunderland on New Year's Day, then City are top.
I don't think a draw is a disaster. What I would say is, though, is that all of the questions that are starting to appear that we're asking about Arsenal will just be more questions.
Yeah.
As opposed to, you're talking about City. City are answering all the questions right now, regardless of which way you want to go at them, whether it's defensively, scoring goals, who else is going to score goals? Well, they've answered that. So, yeah, I don't think a draw is a disaster for Arsenal. Certainly not a disaster for Villa, but for Arsenal, it's not a disaster. But I think it just knocks another little tiny chip away at what we all thought should have been a really dominant season for them.
Stevie, it's some pressure, though. Stevie, it's some pressure if they draw. If Arsenal draws, Stevie, you know that City is smelling some blood there. Come on.
It's not a disaster. You can't. We're talking about a top of the table clash, right?
Yes.
So it can't be a disaster in the top of the table clash where you draw. I mean, you can't turn around and say, "Oh, that's a disaster. That's it. The title challenge is over." It's not. It just means that there's another tiny little chip that we will take out of Arsenal. And another tiny little chip that psychologically they will think about as well.
Yeah. Mario, you think this could be more of a disaster than Stevie suggests?
Yeah, because look, look, we you know, when you want to become champions, and Stevie knows all about it, you understand? Me as well, when I was back home, the one that's going after you, then you want to be in control all the time. And that is, I think Arsenal wants to be in that seat, especially because they know all the eyes are on them, because they have more pressure than Villa. If it becomes a draw, Villa goes away with a smile, because they're thinking away from home, twice in London, and getting a draw out of it. There is a better advantage for Aston Villa. But for Arsenal, no, you're at home, you got to win this game if you want to be champion.
Let's take a look at everyone's predictions, shall we? A familiar feel, certainly when it comes to Mario and Stevie's thoughts on how this game is going to play out tomorrow. Both going for 2-1. I reckon it's going to be 1-1. I can see Arsenal 1-0 up early, controlling the game, final third, missing chances, Villa score late on, and then we all sit here going, oh, it's happening again to Arsenal.
Arsenal's bottle.
Yeah, exactly. But you think I'm wrong. Stevie?
I do. I just... As I said, it's great when you're Villa and you've come back so many times, but you can't keep relying on that. And you certainly can't keep relying on it when you're going to the team at the top of the table who are everybody's favourites to win the title. Yeah. You can't rely on coming back.
Is this going to be an open, entertaining, end-to-end game? We're not normally used to that with Arsenal in big matches because Arteta plays it tight.
It's not going to be a Man City Liverpool of 4 or 5 years ago. Okay. It's not going to be that. It's going to be Aston Villa drawing a line in the sand, depending how deep, depending how high they want to make it, and Arsenal are going to have possession of the ball. And then when they turn the ball over, Villa are going to get after them.
Right.
I think the problem with Villa have is they're away from home, and when Villa were at home, a lot of the problems Villa caused themselves by trying to play out from the back and giving the ball away.
Okay.
So if they're doing that at home, what they're going to be like, they're going to be more nervous away from home. I'm sorry, I just see an Arsenal win.
Mario, you've gone for the same scoreline, 2-1.
Yeah, because I feel like, you know, Arsenal is at home, and I feel that they first of all, like I said, they need to win, but I also feel like they will take the lead in the sense of, like, if Villa sits back, I think they can play the game better than the way Chelsea played it the first half. But if Villa, you understand, has a better answer than what they had at Chelsea, because I don't think the first half they had a great answer. The second half, yeah, of course. But the first half, they didn't really have a good answer because their counter-attack didn't work. And that's why if they play Arsenal and they want to hit them on the break and Arsenal sits well defensively, it will be fine. But that is the team that can play you know, they can pass the ball open and open them up. And that is going to be very important for Arsenal. They got to start well with good energy, because Villa, they peaked one time against Chelsea. Can they peak again? And it's two big games for them. And most of the time when I watch the Premier League, the big, you know, the teams that have to win, they struggle with peaking twice in a row.